Alright folks, here we are in my walk-in cooler, and this is going to be the step one for piecing out this deer here, and then I'm going to show you how I butcher it, okay? The first step here, I'm going to pull the front legs off of this animal. It's a really simple process. In the front legs there are no joints that you have to work through. The leg is just held on by muscles. So really easily, the first step here, we're going to grab this front leg and we're just going to kind of pull. And as we pull it away from the rib cage, like this, there's kind of a pocket right in here that you'll see kind of start to form. That's where I'm just going to run my knife right along those ribs. Okay? And I'm pulling out again, and you see how it's separating on its own? That's what we want to see. You just bring that knife up. And I'm staying close to the ribs, and we're going to pull all of that off with this front leg, okay? Just like this. And here we see that there's some blood that's left over from where it was killed. And we're going to pull a little bit more. Kind of run back here. And as you see on the inside, there's just more connective tissue, and that's all we're going to cut right through here. Okay, nice and easy. It's a natural seam. We just stay tight to the rib cage. And again, my knife here, you can see that I'm right against the rib bones here. Obviously that's where the arrow went through, and that's why it looks like this. Now once I get up to about here, we want to stay out of our loin or our back strap, okay? We don't want to take that part off with our front shoulder. Here we have the front shoulder bone. And just bring straight down here. All right. So we have one front shoulder off, okay? And we'll clean all of this up here in a moment, okay? I'm going to set this down, and we'll take the other one off as well, okay? So again, it's the same process, all right? We're going to hold on the ribs, and we're going to pull out on this front leg right here, just like this, okay? And it starts to get us a seam right here at the rib cage. Run the knife up, a little more pressure out, cut the other direction down, again, right along the ribs here, pull, and cut. Right on through here. Okay, lift this, pull like that. See how that's just coming right apart? Pull and cut. Most of this is going to be ground for most people, so you don't have to be super careful about what you're cutting through. It's all going to get thrown into the sausage pile. Just like that. Both front shoulders are off. I'm going to go ahead and stash this front leg over here, and we'll move on, okay? Now, on a small deer, the flank here, there's not a whole lot of meat, okay? So, first thing I'm going to do is just cut it free up here, right from the back leg, and cut it like that. We're just going to kind of fold that out for now, so you can see a little bit better when I take off the tenderloin. The tenderloin is this muscle right here. Okay, there's one on each side of the spine. This one here is covered by some fat. I'm just going to peel that fat off. All right, so I have my spine right here. I'm going to cut just on the side of the spine all the way down. Now, on the other side of this muscle, there are actually short ribs. So we don't have to worry about cutting too deep and going into the backstrap. Your knife will stop at the bone. And that's what we're after, just like that. We can kind of start to peel this muscle out. Sometimes we can even just use our fingers just like this right here. My fingers just come right around that muscle and I can pull it out by hand. I'm going to use my knife right up here at the top a little bit. Where this muscle goes is down to the ball and socket joint through the pelvis. So if that gives you kind of a target of where you're aiming. And we have our tenderloin right here. And this fat that's coming off of it here. That's our tenderloin. If this were a cow, this would be your fillets. All right, we're going to go ahead and take the second one out. Then we do it the same way. Now I'm going to be on the other side of the spine. Just dragging my knife right along the bone right here. All the way down. Cut through there. We'll switch sides. Again, just going to kind of dig my fingers right down here into this cut. And my fingers come out the other side, and I can just peel it out. Again, it comes out very easy on the bottom here, and I'll use my knife more as we get towards the top. Right up here. Just cutting that free. Just like that. All right. And we'll clean all of that up inside here after a while. For this flank, depending on the size of the deer, again, sometimes there's quite a bit of meat here, sometimes there's not much. And it's got this nice thick chunk of fat on it. So we're going to peel this fat away so we can find the seam between this muscle and the back strap. The back strap is what we eat for steaks. If it were a cow, that would be your T-bone or your ribeye. Most of those steaks come from up there. So I'm just going through this fat. I'm not getting into the muscle here at all. And if you see this line right here, this is the spine right on the center. Okay, so I'm going to cut through this fat here, just like that, so I can peel it away. I'm using the spine as a guide because I'm going to cut down the center of the spine anyway. So if I'm a little too deep here as going through this fat, that's okay. Just peeling it away to expose this muscle underneath. Again, if this were an earlier season deer, it would not have as much fat. And that's all right. Still getting rid of this fat. I'm going nice and slow because I don't want to get into this muscle with my knife. Again, if I do, it's not the end of the world. Because I'm using this spine right here as a guide, I'm going to cut down that spine to get it out anyway. So patience definitely helps here. Take this chunk of fat off here. job, but it's not too bad. Okay. So right in here, you see there's a line where this muscle naturally ends. It's right down through here. So we're going to kind of follow that seam with our knife, which is why we needed to be able to see it and why we're cutting this fat off. So we'll just keep working here. I can kind of dig my fingers in just like I did the back or the inside here, and we're able to separate from the ribs. That is the goal. Okay. I'm going to take a thinner blade knife. Is a whole lot easier, and we're going to go right along that seam, okay? So I have here just a standard fillet knife. It's nothing fancy. And we're going to go right along the ribs here. And I'm keeping my knife on the ribs to try and get as much of this meat off of it as I can. There. Peeling that back. I'm just looking for a starter cut here. Just going to start to separate this muscle from the spine. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is, knowing this is my spine, I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way down through this muscle until I hit the ribs. Okay? So I'll start up here at the top, again, right against the spine, and I'm cutting straight down until I hit the ribs in there. Now all of this is going to get cleaned up inside, so I'm not super concerned about anything that might still be stuck on it, like this fat right here. Okay. So once I've got my cut in here, I just peel it out just like this. I kind of twist my knife this way as I go through, and what that's doing is it's just cutting it right away from the spine. Okay, and I'm meeting this other seam here on the inside. I give it a little tug as it comes out. Remove the entire muscle in one piece. Doing my best to keep my knife right against the spine here as we come up. And we're almost there. Now, when I stop, I always look for this line right here, which is even with the front edge of this leg. that's where I stop my backstrap cut. So I just kind of cut straight through like that, and that's how I know when to stop. There will be a little bit more muscle that kind of comes right back in here, but I'll take that off and it'll get ground into burger. Almost there. Just like that. So we have our back strap taken off this deer. We're going to do the second one here, and we do it in the exact same way. Okay, I've got this big fat cap that's got to come up, and then from where the arrow exited, I've got some blood up in here, and that's okay. That'll all clean off just fine. I'm going to switch back to my other knife to help me with this fat. Let's see here if I can make this deer stay put. Okay, and I'm just going through the fat, not trying to get the muscle. This deer's nice and cold. This fat is hard. Still in here, I'm looking for this seam right here, just like we did on the other side. Okay. Some of this neck meat we're going to save. It's just right here in the way, so we'll go ahead and pull that off. Alright, so this is our seam that we had before. Okay. Excellent. Back to my other knife. And we do it the exact same way. So I have the spine right here, cut all the way down along this spine. And I'm just kind of working it back and forth a little bit to try and get past the bones that are right here. The spine has several knobs that kind of stick out here and there, and so we're just kind of stay as close to it as we can, getting all the way down. Good. We're going to do the same thing as the other side. Just kind of cut through, and we're going to find this seam right here. And my knife. Just cut down along that seam, and we're going to start peeling it out. Important you keep in mind where your fingers are. We also have gloves that will keep us from cutting ourselves, and we'll show you those later when we get inside and start piecing this thing out. Keep the knife against the ribs. Get nice clean cuts. here where this leg starts, that's my seam. And I just cut it right off like that. Okay? There we have it. So we're going to come back. I'll show you how we take the back legs off here in just a little bit. All right. Thanks. Okay. So the next step, we're going to pull off the neck meat here, and then we'll take both back legs off the pelvis. So again, most of the neck here, some people will use it as a roast. Some people will just grind it. We just grind it. So what I'm going to do is, it's not super particular how you get it off. Just cut as much meat as you can off in 1 or 2 or 3 big chunks, and you'll sort that out in the kitchen. So to do this, we kind of go right down the center here, right down the spine, and just start peeling it back. Just like up here in the back, we've got a bunch of little bones along the neck. So as you cut through, just do your best to get as much meat off of them as you can. So here's one side. It looks like there's a lot of meat in here, but there's really not very much. It's all bone right in here. So we'll go to the other side. We'll do the exact same thing. Get it right on the side of the spine. Down. Just like that. All right, now before I start to take these back legs off, we want to look at the carcass here, and anywhere that there is meat that is salvageable, we want to take that off for trimming up later in the house. So I'm going to go ahead and take these flanks like that. I'll take this other side. Just cut all the way down until we get to the ribs, and just fall the rib right out. On a bigger deer, there is some more meat in here that's worth saving. This is really thin. There's not much meat there. We're just right at ribs. There's a little bit here that I'm going to take off. Sometimes it'll come off with the front shoulder. Sometimes it won't. But now is the time to do that. Once we start in on the back legs, the carcass is going to end up on the floor, and so we prefer not to have to pick through it once it falls. All right. Looks good. We're going to come up here to this back leg, and the first part of this here, we're going to cut on one side of the tail, and we have the pelvis in here. So we just kind of cut down and around this tail, and we're going to follow our seam from the spine all the way down like this. Okay? Now, the tricky part, I have to let one of these legs down so that we can pull on it while keeping this carcass up here. So let's hope that our deer will stay. Okay? Okay, there we go. Perfect. So, what I have right here on this side, as you see our pelvis, we're just going to start cutting it away. All right. Now, normally you do this from in front, but it's going to make it difficult for you guys to see maybe. So we're just going to come right here. This is the pelvis bone. I'm following it just as closely as I can. And I'm giving a little bit of tug. If you tug too much, it's going to come off. All the way down in here. Now right in here is a ball and socket joint. That's what holds the leg to the deer, okay? So we're going to have to work our knife down in here into this ball and socket joint. Okay? Now, when the ball is inside the socket, there's a ligament that connects the two. You have to get that cut, and that's always going to be your first step. When you get down to it, you can see that it's starting to open right here. Just going to put that knife right in there into the ball and socket joint and cut that ligament.
We're slipping.
All right. So once we get there, we're just going to kind of come right around the pelvis here. It's all right. If it falls, we'll pick it back up. And we just keep our knife right against the pelvis and try not to cut through the middle of a big muscle. All right. Now, the pelvis kind of splays out like this inside this leg, and so you kind of have to come out and around it. Right here on the back. And we're gonna right through here. And so once we get around this point right here of the pelvis, we're going to come all the way back up here. Okay, we're going to come all the way back up here to this cut. All right, I'm going to spin this around here again if I can keep it on so that you guys can see. And I'm just cutting all the way through this right here. All this is going to come off together in one piece. Just look where it's tight at, and right now it looks like right around this pelvis right up here. Just bringing the knife around. There, we got her to release. Okay, so the weight of this leg is helping me out, and I'm just keeping my knife as close in here to the pelvis as I can. And naturally we'll pull right away, just like that. Just kind of following this bone. Just like that. And so we have one back leg off. We're going to do the next the exact same way. All right, guys. So here we are in the Leitner Farm's kitchen, and I'm going to show you how I piece out a back leg. We're going to talk a little bit about just the butchering process in general. So the whole principle here is we're going to follow individual muscle seams as we take the leg apart, and we're going to clean off all of the fat in the silver skin, and we're going to set it aside to be rinsed off and cubed and then ground for most of this deer. That's how we use it. A lot of people will cut this into steaks, both the back leg and the back strap. We only use the back strap for steaks here, just because we use so much more ground meat. But that's the basic premise of how we're going to butcher this deer. Okay, I'm going to walk you through how I separate the back leg, and then I'm going to show you briefly how we kind of trim up the muscles. Okay, so for starters, there's always some hair, maybe some grass left over. We just kind of try and keep the leg as clean as we can. As we start to cut this up, the silver skin will come off, and it will take with it most of that hair and grass or whatever from when it was field dressed. So I'm just keeping my knife real shallow and just kind of cutting through the outer layers there to clean this up. Try not to go very deep. Just kind of peeling this out. We have to get through this outer layer so we can see where the fat seams are. And that's where we're going to find our lines, okay? Anything that, has blood that's caked on it, that looks almost like a bruise even, we're just going to trim all of that off. It doesn't go into the burger. Nice sharp fillet knife really helps out in this process as well. Flip this over. We're going to kind of do the same thing until we can get into where this muscle is, or the muscle seams are. That way we can see it a little bit better. Once you've done this once or twice, it makes it a whole lot easier to do the next time. All right, let me get some of this fat cap right in here. See how thick this fat cap is right here. So we have a lot of room to cut through here without getting into the muscles. So I'm going to try and get some more of that fat cap off here. Just going to kind of pry it up, get my knife around through it. Okay, so get a little closer here to the camera. As you see right here, this is a fat seam here that we're going to follow down through, and we're going to peel these two muscles apart, okay? There's another one right in here that we're going to get second. So for start here, I will just cut through this fat seam right here. I'm just kind of opening it up with my hand. That's a natural seam. We're going to go all the way down and around to here. Again, it's just the way the animal's put together. We're just following individual muscle seams, okay? Through to right here, okay? And as I just pull it away, cut through silver skin. So as we get through here, inside there is a lot of just blood vessels, and there's a gland right here in the middle. And so we're going to pull that out. Just nice and gentle following this path, okay? Now, right in here is another muscle. This is I think an eye of round. If this were a cow, we would call it. just follow that seam all the way down. Just like that. So we have first muscle is out. We're going to keep on the same path here. I'm going to separate this small muscle right here out. And it kind of comes down right out here. So we'll just following it around. Just like that. Now, we're going to peel this gland and blood vessels right out of the center by hand. We'll just cut it out like that. Same thing down here. We see right like this. See how it's just coming out? So that goes into our trash pile. Now we're going to pull this fat muscle off right here. Okay. Again, still just following natural seams of down in here. Now, as this muscle attaches right in here to the bone in this muscle, we just kind of follow that up. I'm right here, right against a bone. This is bone as it runs down here into this joint. So we just follow that bone and peel it right away, like that. Okay? And as that comes apart, right here at the joint, we'll just cut all the way down through. Just like that. So all we have left, just like that. So again, all of these muscles will get trimmed up. Okay, so now this is a piece of the back strap that was connected. It comes back just around. So we'll peel it off the front side of the quad muscle. And this whole chunk will kind of come off together. So here, everything is kind of joined right around this joint, the ball and socket joint right here. Okay, so this chunk, again, will get cleaned up later. Got a little bit right here. So now we are on to the quad right here. The way I take the quad off is right against the bone here. Let me rotate around. Right here where the bone starts, I'm just gonna stay right next to it, right next to the bone. We're just going to peel this muscle off of it. So now here I have my knife is on the other side of this bone. As you see right here, you can see it sticking out both places. And just bring it right up the bone. just like that. Now we're going to get to a kneecap here in just a second. Right in here is its kneecap. So I generally, when I pull this muscle off, the kneecap stays with the muscle, and then I just take it out later. Just like that. Okay, so there's our quad muscle. And it's called that because there are 4 individual muscles right in here, and as we clean that up, you'll see what I'm talking about. But they're down in there. Next, we're going to pull this muscle right here. It really is pretty simple if you just follow the natural seams. And it makes it quite a bit easier. Butchering a deer is substantially easier than butchering a pig, in that most of the deer we just grind or cut for jerky. So you'd have to be a lot less precise. Just like that. That one goes in. We're going to peel some of the silver skin off of this calf muscle, I guess, basically. And flip this over here. You see the bone runs right along here. We're just gonna pull this muscle right away from the bone. Kind of got my hand in there underneath that muscle. Just like that. You can kind of slide your hand around. Once you get it pulled most of the way out, you just cut it off. I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Get that one pulled out, and we'll cut it off. So on the inside here we see the bone, and we're just going to follow that on around. Cut all of this muscle out right here. And we're going to clean all of these muscles up and take all the silver skin. So I'm not super worried about the hair and the hide that's left on this leg. I'll do my best to keep it off the counter. But before we really clean any of these muscles up and take the silver skin off, we're going to clean this counter again. So it's not a huge deal. So we're just peeling this off the bone. And we cut it off. Just like that. That's how we take it off a back leg. Alright, so now I've got a front leg off of this deer, and I'm going to show you how I break this down. Same rules apply. All we're really trying to do is separate individual muscles so that we can clean them up, take the fat and the silver skin off of them. So the way they come off of the deer, there could be more or less of the rib meat on here. We're going to go through and we're going to kind of pull most of that off first, and we're going to pull some of the fat and silver skin off of this as well. Okay, so there's a natural seam right in here. I'm going to start there. Just follow seams. It's the easiest way to take this thing apart is just follow the natural seams in this animal. Again, all this is going to be ground up for burger, so if you cut one of the muscles, it's not that big a deal. Sometimes it is easier to cut a large muscle into smaller groups just to help you get it off. It's kind of what I'm going to do here a little bit. I'm just going to kind of pull this right off of here. So there. Just keep following this seam. Just finding whatever natural seams there are here. Peeling it away. Okay. Getting the silver skin off so we can kind of see where those seams are. Excellent. Same thing here on the front. The outside of the leg. Right along the ridge, right here, there's a bone that sticks straight up right here. We're going to use that and we're going to cut straight down it. We're going to peel off this way and peel off that way. Now, I'll rotate this around so you can see. Right up here, we have the shoulder blade. Take my knife. Keep it in contact with the bone. First muscle off of this leg. We'll do this front one again, right on the other side of that ridge. And we just peel it out. like that. Next seam, find right in here. And that's going to separate. Right here. So I'll pull all of this out as one piece. And right in here, we're following bone. Like that. I'm gonna take off the back side of the shoulder blade. Like that. There's a little bit still right here we can dig out. Like that. I'll fillet this muscle off the bone, just like this. It's not a whole lot to this. The trick is just following the natural seams in the muscle, in the individual muscle groups. And down here, cut just along the bone. Peel this up, kind of like we did on the back leg. Cut it off. Like that. So we got one more here. All right, and just if there's anything else in here that we can trim up, we'll just pull that off. that's how we do a front leg. All right, guys, so now that we've taken apart both the front and the back leg, we have the back straps out, we have all boneless meat. I'm going to show you what we do with the meat at this point. So these are two muscles from the front leg. Basically what we're going to do is all of this white silver skin, we're going to trim all of this off. The fat will be off, the silver skin will be off, and we'll be left with just red meat. All right, I'll show you how I do that. It really is fairly simple. If you run your knife just underneath that skin, like that, and we're just gonna kind of fillet it off just like that. Come back the other direction. It's very simple. This is going to clean everything up, and any hairs or anything that are possibly still on it should come off when we do this. I always also rinse my meat before I grind it. I know a lot of people will say that that violates a cardinal rule of butchering, that your meat should never get wet. I've washed pretty much everything that I've butchered for 20 years, and I've never had any issues, and so we're going to keep doing that. We'll just peel it all off just like this. We will rinse it. Once it's rinsed, we will cube the larger pieces so they'll fit into our grinder. I'll do another video to kind of explain all of our tools and how we use them, but for now we will do this to every muscle that we've taken off. Will get cleaned up in just this way, so we won't have any of this fat or silver skin. This can be time consuming and tedious, but I think the end product is a lot better when we trim everything off here. Maybe some of you guys can comment if you know if a butcher would do this, but all of the deer that we've ever processed, we've done this too. We'll just, like I said, we feel it gives us a better finished meat product. And there still is not much waste in doing it this way. We'll go down through the front of this muscle just like this to cut this chunk of fat out. And you can really do this to your preference. If you're okay with having a little bit more fat in it, you wouldn't have to trim as much as maybe we would, or maybe vice versa. Maybe we're more okay with a little bit more fat than what you are. So we'll cut that a little bit more right here. Excellent. So that muscle is ready to be washed and then ground. I'll do this one as well. Same way. Sometimes you accidentally take too much, so that's all right, it's not lost. I feel like doing this at home alone, or at home rather than at a butcher. We have the time to maybe be a little bit more particular than a butcher would be. So I think we get a better product by doing this ourselves. You know, we're not being paid by how many hours or how much time we have put into this. We just get the reward of having good meat. All right, so we will go through every muscle that we've taken off the steer in just this way. All right, and I'll also show you how to grind it when we get to that point. All right, guys, so now that we've taken apart both the front and the back leg, we have the back straps out, we have all boneless meat. I'm going to show you what we do with the meat at this point. So these are two muscles from the front leg. Basically what we're going to do is all of this white silver skin, we're going to trim all of this off. The fat will be off, the silver skin will be off, and we'll be left with just red meat. All right, I'll show you how I do that. It really is fairly simple. If you run your knife just underneath that skin like that, and we're just gonna kind of fillet it off just like that. Come back the other direction. It's very simple. This is going to clean everything up, and any hairs or anything that are possibly still on it should come off when we do this. I always also rinse my meat before I grind it. I know a lot of people will say that violates a cardinal rule of butchering, that your meat should never get wet. I've washed pretty much everything that I've butchered for 20 years, and I've never had any issues, and so we're going to keep doing that. We'll just peel it all off just like this. We will rinse it. Once it's rinsed, we will cube the larger pieces so they'll fit into our grinder. I'll do another video to kind of explain all of our tools and how we use them, but for now we will do this to every muscle that we've taken off. Will get cleaned up in just this way, so we won't have any of this fat or silver skin. This can be time consuming and tedious, but I think the end product is a lot better when we trim everything off here. Maybe some of you guys can comment if you know if a butcher would do this, but all of the deer that we've ever processed, we've done this too. We'll just, like I said, we feel it gives us a better finished meat product. And there still is not much waste in doing it this way. We'll go down through the front of this muscle just like this to cut this chunk of fat out. And you can really do this to your preference. If you're okay with having a little bit more fat in it, you wouldn't have to trim as much as maybe we would, or maybe vice versa. Maybe we're more okay with a little bit more fat than what you are. So we will cut that a little bit more right here. Excellent. So that muscle is ready to be washed and then ground. I'll do this one as well. Same way. Sometimes you accidentally take too much, so that's all right. It's not lost. I feel like doing this at home alone, or at home rather than at a butcher. We have the time to maybe be a little bit more particular than a butcher would be. So I think we get a better product by doing this ourselves. You know, we're not being paid by how many hours or how much time we have put into this. We just get the reward of having good meat. All right, so we will go through every muscle that we've taken off this deer in just this way.